Before we get into the video, I just want to give a shout out to Barbell Apparel for sponsoring this channel. Check the link in the description below, and let's get on to the video. Alright, so this is a quick breakdown of the difference between rate of force development and impulse. Two terms that I think get thrown around a lot but aren't always well understood exactly. But before we get to the comparison, we need to define a couple of terms so we're speaking the same language. So rate of force development is the slope under the force time curve. It's how fast you can produce force. The equation is simple. RFD equals change in force divided by change in time. It's typically measured in newtons per second. Impulse is the area under the force time curve. It's how much force you're able to produce over a specific window of time. That's force multiplied by time, typically measured in newtons times seconds. So why do we care about impulse? Because impulse determines the change in momentum. Impulse equals change in momentum. If you want to move mass or stop someone else's mass, you're talking about impulse. Here's how they connect. RFD influences how fast you get to your peak force in a given time frame. Impulse is the sum total of the force you apply during that given time frame. So they're both time dependent, but in different ways. You can have high RFD and low impulse, like when you produce force quickly, but the movement happens too fast for you to keep applying the force. You can also have high impulse, but low rate of force development, like in a heavy grindy lift where the force builds up slower, but you apply it over a longer duration. We're comparing plyos to an Olympic lift. With plyos, let's just say a depth jump, ground contact time is very short, like 100 to 200 milliseconds. So even if peak force can be high, there isn't a lot of time to apply it, therefore the impulse is low. So you compare that to a clean, you're producing force from the ground all the way up through the triple extension and into the catch. That longer duration gives you a greater opportunity to accumulate impulse. So even though the clean is still fast, it gives you more room to apply the force, which makes the total impulse higher than a depth jump. Now, I got asked about throwing in a heavy deadlift. A true heavy deadlift involves both high force and a relatively long time for tension. From a pure physics standpoint, it probably produces the most impulse of all three of the movements. That doesn't mean it's the best way to train impulse. Cleans train impulse better than deadlifts because cleans still happen under a time constraint. You can't grind out a clean the same way you can with a deadlift. You either apply enough force in the time you're given or you miss the lift. When looking to train impulse, you still want there to be a time cap. So that's part of what makes Olympic lifts so valuable for developing athletic qualities. You're being forced to generate high amounts of impulse quickly. I put this post up on Instagram and someone had commented asking about that deadlift comparison, so I just wanted to answer that question over here too. But hopefully this explanation clears some things up. That's all I got for this video. Thanks for watching, guys.